Trick Room. Either Ninetales, on the other hand, could be really important for countering weather depending on the mode that we see from Daniel. But to start off with, it's set Incineroar and Sinistcha, so very much the Trick Room mode being put out on this turn 1.
And going into it as well, I mean, right away you get to burn the White Herb on the Sneasler. The White Herb being one of those items we don't see quite as much on the Sneasler in comparison, but as you called out, that Incineroar and Sinistcha for Daniel.
Yeah, so Burden already activated because White Herb was used, but doesn't really matter against these two Pokemon. That could matter at some point in this set if you're trying to get Sneasler up past Basculegion in the rain, but that's not the situation we're in.
Going right away into this, Sinistcha, there's definitely a few different modes and things looks it can have, and it's going to be a Rage Powder, redirect a hit, and right away, spare Incineroar from the damage and the sleep. You hate to see that on this turn, but it kind of looks like it might not matter at this point. The sleep, it's just a cosmetic effect. Sinistcha is going to be taking the double up, gets KO'd right on this first turn, so it's done its job. It's kept this Incineroar safe. Knock off into the Golden Go, a lot of damage, and making sure the Grassy Seed is gone, though more so just the damage I think is going to be the impact.
That feels like a turn that demonstrates two players with very conflicting priorities of what they thought was important on that turn 1. Justin wants to make sure that Sinistcha is gone, that there's no chance for Trick Room, so he fires an easy double target into it, Dire Claw and Shadow Ball. Meanwhile, Daniel doesn't want to take a close combat into Incineroar and leave Golden Go unopposed, and so it's important for him to Rage Powder and get that knockoff off.
And now going into this turn with the Ursaluna hitting the field. Again, Ursaluna is normally one of those Pokemon that you would like to have a turn, so it gets that Flame Orb, it gets the activation, and it's able to off-put the damage. But sometimes you're not quite afforded that time. On the opposing end, Golden Go had taken so much damage, so it's going to be Rillaboom to hit the field instead, and with it, bring the Grassy Surge and the grassy terrain. Incineroar is going to be pivoting out as well, so we already did get a peek at the two Pokemon Daniel had in the back, so going to see the Pelipper, sure enough, hit the field. Now going on into this, after the rain, we'll get to see where the Sneasler is targeting down into. After, of course, a Terastallization as well.
Close combat, terrifying on the other side. Terrifying enough to force a Ghost Terastallization from Ursaluna and to switch out from Incineroar to get Pelipper in. It does at least resist fighting, even if it's not a bulky Pokemon. So Sneasler, a little bit of that damage potential mitigated for the moment, just a close combat into Pelipper.
It will be into the other slot, but love to just make sure the options are safe. And of course, with the close combat, it will be the defense and the special defense dropped. Earthquake on this turn, but something that isn't going to be doing the most damage with the Grassy Terrain, but still so much into the Sneasler.
Ooh, but Sneasler hangs on. Remember, there's no Focus Sash there. White Herb already consumed, so if that had been enough damage, it would have been the KO. But Grassy Terrain lowering the base power of Earthquake to 50, and meaning that Sneasler is able to take that hit.
Yeah, so Sneasler gets to stick around for just one more turn. Now, what can Daniel do? We brought the Pelipper in. You don't speed quite there, but your sash has already been broken if you try and go for something like the Tailwind.
Yeah, it's maybe harder to find the Tailwind now. Of course, Fake Out Pressure also up from Rillaboom. Sneasler doesn't have a great target, but Dire Claw, based on that last damage, is probably enough to pick up the Pelipper KO. So really a back-footed position in either slot for Daniel. Doesn't like Ursaluna on the field at the moment. Wants to get Intimidate down to maybe be able to take a Dire Claw, so Incineroar out on the field.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. Try and mitigate this damage a little bit. Be able to go for this Tailwind. Close combat, of course, into the Pelipper. Not going to be nearly quite that damage, but we'll have to see if the follow-up is going to be enough to try and get rid of that bird while you can. Drum beating. Time to see how much work the Intimidate has put in. Pelipper cannot hang on.
Pelipper goes down. Really just safe coverage from Justin because he covers all of the options there. If Incineroar had come into the Pelipper slot to get the Intimidate, well then it takes a massive close combat. But then when Pelipper stays in, the drum beating close combat is enough to deal with that, and now Justin goes up even further, 4-2, locking Incineroar on the field. You know, that's the last Intimidate. This will be the last Fake Out, and Ursaluna will never have speed control. The Trick Room is gone, the Tailwind is gone. Ursaluna going to just be moving slowly the rest of this match.
Sneasler and Golden Go have been so strong within this regulation, and it's been a lead that's been so difficult for Daniel to deal with. Sneasler in particular, even though it's so low on health, has just been a complete thorn in Daniel's side, and now the Terastallization well, and making sure that if it wasn't Fake Out from the Incineroar, it could get past that as well if it is a Facade coming out from this Ursaluna. High horsepower, double up into Incineroar, so real quickly, Daniel is brought down to just one Pokemon left. The Ursaluna, another powerhouse Pokemon within this regulation, but definitely not set up to succeed in any sort of capacity. Facade can kind of even the score a little little bit. One hit KO, it seems nice on paper, but too many Pokemon on Justin's side to still get through.
Right, Justin does a great job there of identifying, often when you're ahead in a game of Pokemon, you just want to simplify it further. And Justin identifies a way to guarantee himself a KO, even if it means a KO back, because now, of course, you see Golden go hit the field, there's just no chance for Ursaluna in this position. And so close combat with the Ghost Terastallization means Fake Out can't land there, the high horsepower can finish up that KO, and, you know, it's all but finished here.
Yeah, that'll be the Dire Claw for the first bit of damage, but with the Terastallization already out, Shadow Ball from the Golden Go is going to be good as gold. And Daniel, that Ursaluna is out. And Justin Tang up 1 in the set. And honestly, such a commanding lead from the get-go. You had talked about the different prioritizations from both of these trainers, and seems like Justin's was just miles ahead at this point and kind of quickly took Daniel out of any possibility of having a chance in that match.
Yeah, Justin took the easy KOs, took the vulnerable Pokemon, and took away the speed control, meaning that Ursaluna stuck by itself really wasn't much of a threat. But none of these plays were completely safe. You know, that turn 1 could have been a Fake Out into Sleazer. There was the risk of the Ghost Terastallization, but that might have meant Trick Room could go up. The priority wasn't Rage Powder. Meanwhile, Pelipper could have protected itself on this turn where the close combat and drum beating went in. So while these plays were mitigating what could come out from Daniel's side, they weren't guaranteeing advantages. So maybe Daniel can find just a safer path, change up his own move inputs and find another path through it. But definitely looks like such a clean game 1. You have to be thinking about adjustments, thinking about how do I make sure that game 2 doesn't look so strong in Justin's favor like that game 1.
Surely there has to be an adjustment. From Justin, of course, surely not. This lead was so strong, but on the opposing end, this is where we'll get to see the switch. Sinistcha yet again on the field, but Basculegion is his partner this time.
Yeah, this makes it so much more of a guessing game for Justin, because now with Wild the White Herb burnt, the Basculegion, if Pelipper were to switch in, would be the first thing to move, and it could just threaten a KO against either of these Pokemon. Meanwhile, it could just be Basculegion going out to Ursaluna and Sinistcha setting up a Trick Room, so you really have to try to understand what's happening. If you play too passively here, trying to be afraid of the Basculegion offense, you could give up a ton to Sinistcha. If you actually just go out and attack in this turn, you could give up so much to Basculegion. It makes it a really difficult position to try to find a safe play in.
And that's one of the things as well on that very, just for that first match in the first turn, Daniel wasn't able to quite find the speed, and the Sinistcha was more in that supporting role to just divert attention away from that Incineroar. And now with Golden Go, the Sneasler maybe just not being in too good of a situation. That is going to be the switch out of Rillaboom to be able to have some pressure next turn. And of course, next to that Golden Go, with it being that Grassy Seed, that defense is going to be raised if we are going a bit more on the attack for next turn. Right now, we'll get to see a Protect. This is, of course, where Daniel can take advantage, though. Flip turn, you get a little bit of pivoting, and with Sinistcha not going for something like that Rage Powder or anything else, it looks like such a passive turn to be able to set that Trick Room and have this Ursaluna go crazy.
This is exactly what I was talking about, right? Justin is worried about Pelipper plus Wave Crash, so he plays defensively. Puts a Grass type in one slot, protects the other slot. Wave Crash is not going to do much on that turn, but it's not Wave Crash. It's Flip turn to Ursaluna and Trick Room, and suddenly Daniel has a commanding position here. Now, it's not an easy position to find instant offense in. Rillaboom did switch in, meaning it has Fake Out pressure to Ursaluna. You can try to eliminate that with a Ghost Terastallization to find damage right now. Golden Go also got a defense boost on that last turn, so you have to worry that, you know, if it were to Terastallize, maybe you can't find the damage onto it with Ursaluna. So some options for Justin, but he's definitely now playing from behind, playing from the reactive position of trying to figure out how to stay alive, not how to press offense like he was in game 1.
So much impact from that turn number 1, and Daniel really going to make sure to press forward with that Ursaluna into the Ghost Terastallization where you're staring down a Fake Out from the Rillaboom on the other end. That just makes so much sense to make sure that you can go ahead and get an attack on this turn. Not the only Terastallization, though. When there is this Golden Go on the other end that could be susceptible to a hit, of course, it makes a lot of sense to see the Terastallization into the water type. Not going to be a resistant hit from this Ursaluna, but not going to be a super effective one either. So we can see how much impact that Terastallization has with the impact of that Grassy Seed, and look how well it takes the hit. Now Ursaluna, the defense and the special defense is going to be dropped. The Sinistcha, the follow-up, the Magic Gotcha. This one is going to be the super effective hit, though. How much is it going to do? Enough! Golden Go goes down after spending the Terastallization to no effect.
Yeah, the combination of the Headlong Rush and Magic Gotcha is enough. Grassy Seed can't save you from that, but it means Rillaboom did not Fake Out into the Ghost Terastallization, gets the attack this turn, but just Drum Beating, no Wood Hammer on this Rillaboom makes it a little bit harder to capitalize on this position.
especially too, seeing the amount of damage that was done there, it's still respectable, but it's just not that same impact that maybe a Woodhammer would have had.
Right, Woodhammer probably could have picked up that KO, or at least would have put it in Grassy Glide KO range. Keep in mind there was a Headlong Rush, so that's -1 defense on Ursaluna, making those attacks do more damage. But Drum Beating, while it's so helpful in so many other positions, not as strong here. And now Ninetales hits the field, another fast Pokemon that doesn't like being in against this Trick Room. You can see why Justin made that prioritization in Game 1 to just eliminate the Sinistcha and make sure there wasn't Trick Room to deal with. Couldn't find that same play now, and has to be pretty weary. Might be enough for Grassy Glide to pick up the KO. We're going to go for it.
You have to, but the Ursaluna is going to hold on. It was that Grassy Terrain recovery that really put dividends in, and the Facade in return. Rillaboom goes down. Now it's just going to be the Ninetales on the field, but of course the Sinistcha has this opportunity to go for an attack first. Single target, matcha gotcha. It isn't known for its offensive capabilities at most points, but still a great amount of damage and will break the Sag. It is going to be Encore Lock though, so it is going to be matcha gotcha as long as it's on the field. But it could be okay, all things considered, considering the speed tiering.
Yeah, that's a pretty bleak bit of optimism to just encore into Matcha Gotcha, already down 2 to 4. You know, still turns a Trick Room left, and you have to imagine even once Trick Room expires, probably a Basculegion and a Pelipper to contend with. And the Grassy Terrain helping keep Ursaluna around as well. Would have just gone down to burn over the course of this time, but because Grassy Terrain is helping keep it healthy, it can still fire off more damage. No priority on the other side, so yeah, just a concession. Justin finds no way to deal with these Pokemon, and it all comes down to the strength of that turn 1.
Wow, that was... It was incredible how commanding both of the games in the set were, and being able to see a game 3 is amazing. And as you called out during the match, that Sinistcha on that turn number 1, it was a Pokemon that Rage Powder turn 1 in game 1, and I mean, all of a sudden the win con for Daniel just seemed to be gone. And game 2, a little bit of passive from Justin, understandably so, considering the Basculegion lead, just means Daniel is quickly able to set up that Trick Room, and it was just done from there. So then, this game 3 is going to be intense.
Yeah, both games feel like they were decided by really impactful turn 1s. I wonder if either player sees an option to find a lower variance turn 1, if they think they can just push a lead without having to risk so much, or if we're going to be back to 50-50s.
It's been a series of big calls and getting into the game 3 to see who's going to make their way into top 4 between Justin Tang and Daniel Yu. We get to see this switch up coming out from both trainers here. So it's going to be Rillaboom and this Golden Go right away in the lead for Justin. That's going to be, of course, the Grassy Terrain, the defense for the Golden Go, and Incineroar and the Sinistcha for Daniel.
It feels like Daniel gets the better side of this, right? This is what he led in game 1 that ended up losing that game because it was Sneasler on the other side being a big threat. No Sneasler this time. Just a pretty valuable Intimidate into Rillaboom. Now, that doesn't mean things are easy. The Shadow Ball on the other side still a threat into the Sinistcha if it doesn't Terastallize. If it doesn't have a fake out support next to it, it can just be double targeted once again.
Is Justin going to go for a safer player, try and call something out on this turn? Getting into his Drum Beating does come out as the Ursaluna swaps in, but instead hits into the Sinistcha slot. Of course, speed drop, not too impactful, but look at this double up. Sinistcha, I mean, it's not going to appreciate something like a Shadow Ball, but it will be able to hold on past the turn. 18 HP, and the barrier to stick around even longer. So that is going to be devastating. The Ursaluna gets in absolutely for free. Trick Room is now set up for Daniel, and with the Ursaluna switching in now, you're going to be able to instantly get that Flame Orb and be able to offload so much pressure.
Right, the damage is ready to go. Justin saw his future. He saw the Trick Room from Sinistcha. He wanted to stop it. He wanted to find the double target with Drum Beating and Shadow Ball, but it just wasn't enough damage. This more defensive Golden Go doesn't have the punch behind it, and once again, Drum Beating rather than Woodhammer means just a little bit less damage. The Intimidate from Incineroar meaning a little bit less damage, and Sinistcha hangs on, gets a very, very important Trick Room up on turn 1.
And we saw just how much impact Daniel had with that Trick Room in game number 2. Now it's Justin to try and fight his way through this with a big adjustment into the game 3. Arcanine seems, as you called, a bit difficult maybe sometimes in the match and going into the rain, but going to be the adjustment and hitting the field.
Yeah, if you want to deal with Ursaluna and you're less focused on the rain mode, and it feels like Daniel's been pushing the Ursaluna the entire set, the Incineroar is a great adjustment to get an Intimidate out, and then maybe you can take a combination of attacks into Golden Go.
Now it's going to be Terastallization that Ursaluna matcha gotcha first into these two Pokemon. Arcanine taking just so much damage. And of course, some of the healing for the Sinistcha. Remember, it had 18 HP at one point, and it's already over half, like 2/3 of its health back. It has been such a pain to deal with. Headlong Rush into the Golden Go. That is going to be a KO easily claimed here for Daniel and this Ursaluna. Of course, at the downfall of dropping that defense and that special defense. Now for the Arcanine, I mean, this Arcanine, the adjustment for this game 3, it'll have to make so much impact, but again, it's a Pokemon that doesn't really necessarily have the speed in its favor.
Right. Might be able to use extreme speed in some matchups, but not with the Ghost Terrestrialization used onto the Ursaluna. And Justin may be hoping that Daniel would get ahead of himself, try to call a Water Terrestrialization and just go for a Facade, or be more worried about the Rillaboom and throw a Facade there. But the Headlong Rush lands true into Golden Go and takes that Pokemon off the field. And once again, we're in a simplifying position where Daniel still has 3 turns of Trick Room to work with and already a 4-3 lead and some more Machigotchi damage on its way.
And sometimes you see Protects to try and get through these turns, but Justin instead, counting on maybe survivability, maybe a call to try and take some momentum back in this match. The Machigotcha, we're now at a Sinisha that's back at full health here. Headlong Rush, the follow-up as well. Ninetales, Sash has been broken. Another KO claimed, another KO claimed in this Trick Room.
Yeah, of course, Ninetales, to fit all those different moves it'd like to have, has no Protect, so it's the vulnerable thing, the thing that's easy to get rid of in this Trick Room.
And now Flare Blitz, Ursaluna. I mean, with the bird, it's like, this is just crazy. That's going to be an Arcanine. It had taken so much. It's going to get KO'd from the recoil, so a double KO on the turn. And then it's so, like the Ursaluna, there is the burn damage, but with the Grassy Terrain coming in first, it survives the hit, and it still will be able to stick around.
Yeah, some insult to injury. I think this game was wrapped up one way or another. Either Rillaboom isn't fighting it back, but with Grassy Terrain going before burn, Justin's own Grassy Terrain keeps Ursaluna on the field.
At this point, it's just clicking the buttons to make it official for Daniel. The momentum has only been his within this match, and only one Pokemon in his way from moving on into top 4 here at Pittsburgh. You got to make sure to just, you know, dot the I's, cross the T's, intimidate onto the Rillaboom, protect. But yeah, I think it's just, yeah, you can see even the smiles. We're, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to really seal it up. Fake out on Facade with no Protect available on Rillaboom and no chance to Grassy Glide will just fully wrap it up on this next turn. Just a nice safe play from Daniel in a position that was already decisively ahead.